Hi, in this video I'm going to be taking you through the basics of collecting online registrations for your sports competition. So I've logged into FiXi here. This is a brand new database, so I don't have a lot of data in here, but wanted to show you right from the very beginning how we can start accepting online registrations. So I've logged into FiXi, and the first thing I want to do is head into SportFix and go into settings, and I want to enable my SportFix profile and click on Save Changes. And what this gives me is a unique URL for my profile out on the public. And if I click on that link, it'll take me off to that particular location. Okay, so this is a public URL that I can share with my clients or my players who I want to come in and register for competitions. So consider FiXi the administration side of things for you as administrators, and SportFix is the public side of things for your customers to come in and register for competitions at your particular facility. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is on the online registrations tab, I want to select show register button on SportFix profile. I want to change that to yes. I'm going to click on Save Changes. Now if I refresh this page, I'll get this button that says register a new team. If I click on register a new team, then it will bring up all the competitions that are available for this particular venue for me as a public member to register into. You can see that there are currently no open competitions. So that's what we're going to go through and enable so that people can come along and register. Okay, let's flick back into FiXi. Okay, so what we want to do is go into SportFix and create an event. So I go into FiXi and create an event. I'm going to click on New Event. And I have a sport in here called soccer, and I'll call it Monday Night Men's Competition. And we'll open the competition today, and we'll accept registrations for 2 weeks. Okay. And if we wanted to, there's an option here, there's a few configuration options here, but how many registrations will we accept? Maybe you've got limited positions. If it's unlimited, you just want to get as many as you can, then just leave it as 0. Hidden event, if you just wanted to share a link directly to the event, then you could select this option and therefore it wouldn't show in this list. But in this case, I want it to be seen by everyone. Terms and conditions, if you've got specific terms and conditions for your competition, you can put in particular address for those competitions, and then when people are registering into this competition, there'll be a link and a checkbox in which they need to accept the terms of those competitions. Then we're going to, there'll be an option when people register to define their skill level. You can change these options to be whatever you want. These are just the default settings, and if you want to ask a custom question, then you can. Now, here's a key decision down here. So we've got team members. How do you want people to register for this for this team? So there's sort of 2 main scenarios. The first one is, do you want the team captain and the person registering for this team to come in and put in not only their contact information, but all of the team members' contact information, which is option 1. Or option 2 is that you can opt for the captain who registers the team to send invitation links out to email addresses of their team members so that they come in and register themselves, right? Which is what we're going to, I'm going to show you both of those scenarios. And just below that is an option on how you want to collect registration fees. So SportFix will allow you to collect a payment amount. Let's say it's $100 for this demo purpose. And is that $100 associated to the team, or is that $100 associated to each player who registers? Okay, so just to go through that in a little bit more detail, a team captain comes along. Is the team captain responsible for paying the $100 and then all the other players don't need to pay anything more? Or is the team registration potentially at no cost, and that each player who comes along, including the captain, needs to pay $100 in order to play in the competition? I'm going to again show you both scenarios. Okay, so let's say I'm going to select the team registration fee of $100 here. And under the player registration rules, I'm going to select the rule, but we'll see that there won't be any rules that are available for us in this particular competition, in this database, I should say. So I'm going to click on Manage SportFix Rules, which is going to take me off to our settings screen. And on the Online Registrations tab, we can see Player Registration Rules. I'm going to click on Add a New Registration Rule. And I'm going to say that this rule is for senior competitions. It's just a general rule that I'm creating, and I'm going to link it in a couple of different places. In this scenario, the registration method is going to be via a team admin, and I'm going to say how long do we accept player registrations for? Is it only up until a certain point? You can see here there's lots of different scenarios. In my case, I'm just going to say indefinitely. People can register into this competition for as long as they want. Allow team admin to unregister players. This is just some administrative tasks that whether they have the privilege to do so. What's the maximum number of registered players per team? Age restrictions, if it's a junior competition. What data do we want to collect about players? What fields are mandatory? So we might say that the gender is mandatory, and we'll click on Save. And now if I go back to my my event that I was creating, I'm going to select this senior competitions rule, okay? And it's $100. So I'll click on Save Event. So now we can see we have this Monday night men's competition. It's soccer. The open date's the 24th, closed on the 2nd of February, and the registration fee is $100. It's the individual player doesn't need to pay anything. The team, we've had so far 0 entries and 0 unallocated, and overall 0 payments. So we're going to come back to this screen. Let's go back into, so this is this screen again. Remember when we click on register a new team, we now see that competition for a Monday night men's competition, okay? And it's $100. Now, before we can start collecting amounts or fees for that particular competition, there's one other thing that we need to do on the FiXi side of things, which is, you may have noticed this big red bar. We need to connect our account into Stripe, and Stripe is an online payment gateway. So when people pay via credit card, those payments are processed through this Stripe system, and that the money, that $100, is then sent into the Stripe system, and then you will receive that into your defined bank account on the next day. Okay, so just want to give you, I just want to take you through how that's done. So I can click on this SportFix settings link here, just to show you how to get there the normal way. SportFix settings, online registrations. And this is a once-off. You only need to do this once, and then this is just how all credit card payments are processed. And I'm going to click on this button that says Connect with Stripe. And then what you will do is fill out this form, okay, which says what country you're from, your website, basic business information, contact information, and then obviously the key one is going to be your bank details, because this is where, when the payments get processed on the next day, those payments will be sent into that particular bank account, okay? In this case, this is just a demo, so I have the ability just to skip this account because I won't bother filling all this out, but when you go through and do this yourself, you'll need to complete this form. Once it's done, it'll come back into our system, and it will say that it will give you an account number, and basically this system is connected into Stripe, okay? I will go through in another video more detail about Stripe, but for now, as long as we're connected, we can start accepting payments for registrations. Okay, so we have this Monday night men's competition. I'm going to click on register for that. So this is me as a public member now, and before I can register into a competition, I need to have a registered account. So I think I have a registered account. All right, and so through the registration process, it's going to ask me the team name. So I can say my team name might be, let's say it's the Demons. The skill level will be advanced. It'll put in my contact information. I can click continue. And at this point, it's going to ask the team, because this is what we set up, that the team registration fee is $100, okay? This is the captain essentially filling out this form. Then the captain will come in and put in their credit card information to process the payment. And this is where we need to accept the terms and conditions defined in FiXi Demos Retro's bylaws. And this section here, this would be hyperlinked off to the terms and conditions had I have put in an address when we were setting up the event. And I'm going to click on Submit Registration. That will process the credit card. And then I will, if the payment is successful, it'll come back and give me a receipt number, and it will have also sent me an email with this information as well. And then I can click Continue. And so what I've done up to this point is that now I have a registration, okay, with me as the primary contact, but I currently have no team members in this team. I've just created a team placeholder, if you will. Now what I need to do as captain in this scenario is go in and add all of my players who want to play in this team. Okay, now because of the rules that I defined, it enables me to come in and maintain all the players of this team. So when I click on Add New Team Member, I need to come down and key in all their information. All right, so let's just go through one scenario. I'll just do John Smith, and we said that the gender was mandatory, and I'll click in Insert. Okay, I'm also going to add myself into the competition because I'm one of the players. So now my team has 2 players in this competition, and we've paid $100. So at this point, and obviously if it was soccer, we'd come through and we'd have a lot more players come into this team. But at some point, the registration process will be complete, and it will be up to the administrator of the system to then come in and allocate this team into a particular competition. So let's change hats again, and let's go back into our events section. So under SportFix events, we'll now see that we've had 1 team entry into this men's competition, and we've collected $100 worth of payments in total. And we have 1 particular team who's yet to be allocated into a competition. Because we have this scenario, or this concept called events, because we don't know how many teams are going to register for this competition necessarily. So if we get, let's say, 8 teams registered for this competition, then we may only, 8 teams registered for this event, we may only have 1 competition. But if we were to have 20 teams, we might break that up into 3 different divisions. So once we know all the teams that have come in, we'll then determine how many competitions we want to run. So I'm going to click on this registrations button now. We can see here's the demons that have registered into this event. And what I want to do is now allocate them into a competition. So you'll notice here I get the amount paid, how they paid, reference number, receipt numbers, and things like that. And you can look up that information in Stripe as well to go and get more information about the payment. You can also refund that amount through Stripe as well if you needed to. But here we have the team members that was keyed in by Trent when he created this account. But what I want to do now is allocate this particular registration into a competition. There's just one more thing that I want to do before I go through and allocate. So remember before, under SportFix settings, online registrations, we had these registrations rules. Those rules were referenced in the event. What I want to do is also put those rules against the particular division or competition, okay, so that the rules that are implied are also applied to the division as well. So I'm going to click on Settings, Divisions. We have Division A, which was already in here for us. We see I have an online registration rule, and I want to select that senior competitions rule. So that way the fees associated for the players all match up and are linked. Okay, so let's go back into the events, registrations, allocate. And what I want to do is put this demons into Soccer Division A Summer 2020. And because they paid $100, where do I want to allocate this $100 to? Do I want it to be the first round fee, or if the division had a season fee or a registration fee, then we could allocate it to that as well. So you'll see what that does. So I'll go in and allocate the team. It's just a warning that once it's done, it cannot be undone. And I'll click on OK. So now if I go into teams and click on demons, I already had a team in there called demons, but that's okay. You can see that the 2 team members who registered online have come through here, and they've been allocated into soccer division A. And under financials, we can see that they've paid $100. And if I click on that, I can even see their receipt number here of their online team payment. And because it was allocated for round 1, once round 1 occurs, let's say round 1 had a fee associated to it of $100 every round, then what this would do is then that debit of $100 would come off, and the payment would have will all align. So in this scenario, the teams made the first round contribution under the promise that they're going to show up on first round. And making that payment just, I guess, can give you confidence that teams are going to show up. If you don't collect any payment during the registration process, there's a risk that people register and then it just no shows on round 1. Okay. But there's lots of different payment scenarios. You could have teams pay for the whole season up front. Or what I'm going to show you in a moment is the player registrations, where each player plays to pay in that competition. It's generally for the whole season. So rather than paying maybe $10 each round when they arrive at your venue, they just pay their $150, which gets them 15 rounds in a competition or something like that. Okay, so now that team is in the competition, we could go ahead and fixture this whole competition if we wanted to during the normal functionality of using normal functionality of FiXi. Okay, so that's team registrations. I want to show you now, I'll show you one other thing actually. On the SportFix side of things, if I go into my registrations, and this is the demos one, I can click on the registration. And so these are my team members, but I can see the status has changed from pending to now be allocated. And so what it means is under this count, under this user's account, they're also now officially a team. So under teams, I can see demons, and I can see all the information about this particular team, and I can see the team members within this particular team as well. All right. So a lot of the information that you have as an administrator, players also have access to on the public side through SportFix. Okay, let's show the player registration process now. So I'm going to go into SportFix settings, online registrations, and I'm going to add another registration rule here, which is the invite link. So I'll go senior competition via invite. And the registration fee for this, let's say, is $150 for every player that registers into this competition. Again, you can put the terms and conditions. Again, you can put how long you want to allow people to register for. And I'm going to leave everything else the same. In this scenario, I'm also going to create another division, which I will call Division B. Registration rule is going to be via the invite one. Everything else is fine there. I'm happy with all that. Oops, sport should mean soccer. Okay, so now under events, I want to create another event which I'll call, let's just call this one Tuesday night men's competition. We'll start the events today, again for 2 weeks. I'm happy with all those settings. The team members player registration rule, I want to use this invitation link. And you'll see now that I've used this particular rule, because it's via invite, we cannot have a team payment registration. All the registrations must be via the players paying for that for their registration. So I'll click on Save Event. Okay, so now when I go to that particular venue, so here's the venue, and I click on Register a New Team. You can see I've got two competitions here. Here's the Tuesday night men's competition. I'm going to click on Register for that, and I'm going to call it Tuesday Tanks, and the skill level will be intermediate. Continue. You can see the team registration fee is $0. So this is basically the team captain accepting the terms and conditions and saying that they want to play in this competition. I'll submit the registration. They'll get an email confirmation as well. We'll click on continue. And you see I can't add a new player into this team now. I need to invite my team members into this competition. So I'm going to click on, first of all, I'll register myself into this competition because I'm a captain, but I'm not yet a player. So I'll click on register now. I have to put in my contact information, click on continue, and you'll see here the registration amount is now $150 for me as an individual to play in this team in this competition. So I'll put in my my credit card details, and I'll submit the registration. So now you can see that Trenolde has completed his registration process and paid $150. And at this point, I also need to invite my other teammates as well to come and play in this team. So let's invite in Sam Smith. I'll put in an email address in which I know I have access to, and click on send. And you can see here now I've got Sam Smith, who I've invited in but is not yet registered. The public person who's logged in here could also resend that invitation if Sam says, oh, I never got it. I'll invite Mark Jones in as well. Mark Jones at FiXi.com. Send that off, so he's invited as well. And I'll be waiting for my teammates to be coming in and registering into this particular team. So let me just show you the invitation link. Okay, so this is what the invitation that Sam will have received. So if we go back into our event now, we'll see that we've had a team entry into the Tuesday men's competition. And we'll see that the total amount paid is $150. If we click on allocate, we can see this team with the contact information, all the team members in here with their receipt numbers. And if I determined that there was enough team members in here and I was ready to allocate these guys into a competition, then I could. And depending on the rules that was configured, even though I've allocated this team, potentially you could still have players registering into that team up until a certain point. So maybe it's up until the time that we have created the fixture, or round one has commenced, or we're halfway through the season, or all those rules that I showed you earlier. So let's go and allocate this particular team into summer 2020 and click on allocate. So now when I go in and have a look at my teams, under manage teams, soccer, division B, summer 2020, there's the Tuesday Tanks. All right, under team members, we've got Trent coming here. And under financials, we can see that the registration fee required for this competition was $150, and they paid $150, so they have a balance of $0. Again, I can click on here and see the receipt number for that particular team. For that particular player. And at this point, I could then go in and start registering or creating my my fixtures for this particular competition. All right. Now, one last thing that I wanted to cover off today was around the re-registration process. So let's say it gets to the end of the season and teams want to play again in the following season. So what we're going to do is let's go in and create another season. So let's say it's winter 2020. All right. And so what we want is, let's say this Tuesday Tanks, they're currently playing in summer 2020, but we want them to re-register for winter 2020. All right. What will happen is, let's say this event has now expired. So let's close it off. Let's just change some dates here. Let's say this finished yesterday. Okay, so that's done. We are going to have a new event and we'll call it Winter, let's call it Tuesday Men's Winter 2020, which opens today. And the registration rule is that by invite link again. So we're happy with all the standards otherwise. What we will have, so on the SportFix side of things, when they're logged in under their account, they'll go into My Teams. And there's the Tuesday Tanks one. And they'll have a button here. So this is the team that they're currently in. It can see that they're registered under Soccer Division 2020. But what we have here is a button for them to re-register their team. And it lists out the events, which we've got Tuesday Men's Winter 2020. They'll register for that. They'll select their skill level again. They'll accept the laws and they'll register into the competition. And at this point in time, they need to say, okay, who's coming back to play in the next season? And so what they can do here is invite existing team members to play in this competition. You can see Sam Smith play with us last season. So we can send him another invite to come and re-register into this team again to play in the next season. So we'll send an invitation. You can see he's been invited. He'll come in and pay and he'll join the team. And then it will go back through that process to allocate that team again into that Winter 2020 competition when we're ready to go. And that will link up all the existing, so it will know that that's the same team as it was before. It will also know that those were the same players as it was before. So you're keeping your database nice and clean and everything in the right places so that you can communicate with them effectively into the future. Okay. That is the things that I want to cover off today. If you have any questions, you can send them through via email, support@fixionline.com. We hope you like these new updates and look forward to your feedback.